You're welcome to day 41 of 50 days of tutelage. In today's class, I will be discussing about wave motion. Now, when you hear wave, does it mean to wave at someone? Maybe you want to say bye-bye to them, but that's not the case for physics. In physics, wave is simply defined as a periodic disturbance that transfers energy from one point to another through a medium or through space without the permanent transfer of matter. So let me explain what all that English, what it means. So what it basically means is that if, let's say, I have a point A and I have a point B. So when a wave is sent, or when you introduce a wave into this system, so wave is going to transfer energy from this place to this point. But in the process, there are actually matters in the process that it will meet along the way. So you would think that this thing will work like an erosion, such that it is washing all the matter content in this place, is washing it from A down to B. But that's not the way it works with wave. Wave actually transfer energy from this point to this point. But even though it encounters all these matter content along the way, it does not displace them permanently. The only thing that happens to this matter content is that they vibrate about their main position throughout the traveling of that wave. So this wave, when a wave is sent, like I said, it's a disturbance. So the system had its own setup initially. So the moment you send a wave, it disturbs the system. It's like a perturbation. And what it does is that it transfers energy from point A to point B. That is the source where you are sending the wave from. It transfers the energy and send it to what? To point B. But by the way, it doesn't necessarily have to be through a medium. It can be through space as well. So transferring this energy from point A to point B without what? A permanent transfer of matter. So it's not necessarily making the content that it passes through. It's not washing them down from A to B. It's actually just passing through them and causing them to vibrate about a main position. So that is why, that is basically what wave is all about. So some wave requires material medium. That is, they require actual matter medium like solid, liquid, or gas to be propagated. But some they do not require. That is, without in a vacuum, such wave can travel. So those that usually require this material medium, they are called the mechanical waves. They are called the mechanical waves. Mechanical waves. So this one requires material medium. That is, you will need to propagate them through a solid, a liquid, or a gas. But the other ones, they do not require material medium. That is, they can travel through vacuum. These ones are called the electromagnetic waves. Electromagnetic waves. So take note of this classification now. Based on their mode of transfer, based on their mode of propagation, one requires a material medium. We call them mechanical. Another requires no material medium. It can even travel through vacuum, a region where there is nothing there. Those are called what? Electromagnetic wave. Now, let's proceed now. There are also other set of classification that we do, like mechanical waves now. Some of their examples, like we have sound waves, water waves, and we have waves on a string. So all those ones, water wave, from the way it sounds, water wave, it always requires water. And then you have sound wave. Sound wave is actually the air molecule that surrounds us that transfer the sound that is traveling from one point to another. So there will always be a disturbance in the air particle that surrounds you. So those are mechanical waves. Electromagnetic waves, these ones, they are all your electromagnetic. There's a spectrum we call electromagnetic spectrum, like your visible light ray, your radio wave, your X-ray, your gamma ray. All of these guys, they have electromagnetic wave, and they travel through vacuum. But you see these mechanical and electromagnetic waves as well. Some of them are also classified based on the way they move from their source. Based on the way they move from their what? From their source. That is their vibration relative to their direction of travel. So this is now we now have two categories. We have what we call the transverse wave, and we have the longitudinal. Now, take note, something can be a mechanical wave. A mechanical wave can be transverse or it can be longitudinal. So it doesn't matter that it's mechanical wave. Although for electromagnetic waves, these guys, they are always transverse wave. Yeah, they are always transverse wave. But mechanical wave can be transverse and can be longitudinal. For instance, now, among the mechanical wave that I mentioned earlier, I had mentioned sound wave. Sound wave is actually longitudinal. So I'm going to give you some basic classification now. So what is a transverse wave? A transverse wave is simply such wave that the particles of the medium that is vibrating, they are perpendicular to the direction of the wave. So when you have such that the particle of the medium, the particle of this medium, they are perpendicular to the direction of the wave, then you have what we call transverse wave. But longitudinal wave, the particle of the medium that the wave is being sent through, they are parallel. They are parallel. So if these are the particles, then the wave itself is traveling in this manner. The wave itself is traveling in this manner. So that is what we mean by longitudinal wave. So for transverse wave, I told you for all your electromagnetic wave, they are actually transverse wave. Light wave, it is transverse. X-ray, gamma rays, X-rays, radio waves, all of these guys, they are transverse wave. So take note, all electromagnetic waves, they are what? They are transverse waves. But it's not only them that are transverse. Water wave, which is not electromagnetic, which is actually mechanical, is also a transverse wave. Waves on a rope, if you have a rope like this, is also what? Is also transverse. And for longitudinal, like I said, particles of the medium vibrate parallel to the what? To the direction of the wave that is traveling. And examples are sound wave, I've mentioned that earlier, and then you have all of those blah 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 and blah 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 like that. So that's the basic introduction to wave motion and everything that it entails. Now, to describe wave, we use some properties to describe wave. So for instance, if I draw this now, so let's say I am plotting this graph now and I have this wave. Let's say I have this here. Yeah, so there are some properties that we use to define wave actually. So I'm going to start with what we call the amplitude. Amplitude is called a point of maximum displacement. So, and from the origin, so this is the origin, when you go from here to this place, this point to this point, the measure of this place to this place is actually known as the amplitude. So it is the point of maximum displacement. So this point is the amplitude of the wave. It's known as the point of what? Maximum displacement. Now, sorry, it is the maximum displacement experienced by the wave. Now, we have what we call wavelength. What is wavelength? Now, before I define wavelength, I will quickly talk about when we say points are in phase. Phase. When do we say some points are in phase? Now, when points are in phase, there are these things that they must actually undergo. Number one, they must be traveling in the same direction. That's number one. Number two is that they are such that the distance between the two of them is a single wavelength. So let me describe what a 2 points that are in phase, what they look like. They are traveling in the same direction and they are also at the same displacement. So those are the two major important things. Before I talk about the wavelength, first of all, they must be traveling in the same direction. And number two, they must have the same displacement from the origin. So for instance now, if I pick this point, so I want to draw a line now. So let me draw a line through this place. So you see that every time that this guy touches the wave, so let's call this one 0.1, let's call this one 0.2, let's call this one 0.3, let's call this one 0.4, let's call this one 0.5. You see, all the points that I've listed here, they are of the same displacement. That is, from this place to this place, you always measure the same displacement for the 5 of them. But which of them are actually in phase? To know that they are in phase, they already have the same displacement, but are they moving in the same direction? So if you look at the tangent to this one is going down. If you look at the tangent to this one is going up. I think I should use a different color for those things so that we can properly identify them. So this one is going down, this one is going up, this one is going down, this one is going up, this one is going down. So now, using the second place now, they must be moving in the same direction. So meaning that 1 is going down, 3 is going down, 5 is going down. So that means that 1, 3, and 5, they are in phase. And 2 and 4, they are also what? In phase. So when you have 2 points like that that are in phase, consecutive. Now, take note of the part I said consecutive, because you can have several points in phase, like 1, 3, and 5. But 1 and 3 are consecutive, 3 and 5 are consecutive. See, the distance between any 2 points that are in phase is also known as the wavelength. So I'm going to draw another one now so that, because that one seemed like it's overly crowded already. So the distance between any 2 points that are in phase, any 2 consecutive points that are in phase, is known as the wavelength. So the easy route to follow is, now this point now is going up, so this point is going down, this point is going up. So that implies that the distance between this point and this point, I think I should just draw that out here. So the distance between this point and this point, so this distance is known as the wavelength. So this is given as the wavelength. So the wavelength is represented using lambda. So now I want to pick a random one now. So if I pick, let's say, this point now, so the next point will be, now it looks like this one, but it's not this one. It's going to be this. So the distance from here to here is also a wavelength as well. So, and that is how it works. What about if you have 3 consecutive points in phase? Then they will represent double wavelengths. I think I've been able to describe what it means for points to be in phase and also what it means for us to have wavelength like that. Another thing is period. What is period? Period is the time taken for one particle of the medium to complete a full oscillation. So completing a full oscillation also means that you are completing a wavelength. Just like I said that for one phase, for you to move from one phase to another, then you have completed a period. So the time taken to complete a single oscillation is actually a full wavelength. Sorry, it's a period, that time. So when you go like this, that's like half. When you go like this now, that's another half. That is a complete oscillation. Also, when you move like this, that's half. And when you move like this, that's another half. Then you have a what? A full oscillation. Now, don't mind my half anyways. It's not really like consistent, but you get the point. So when you can trace one phase to another, 2 consecutive phases, the time taken to move from that point to another to the second point will be the period that of that wave. And we have frequency is number of complete oscillations that you have in a second. Number of complete oscillation that you have in what? In a second. So that is what frequency is as well. That is why frequency is always given as number of oscillation divided by time taken. So if you know the time it took all of this now, let's see how many oscillation we can count here. I think I should just bring this here. So this place now, you have 1 oscillation. When you go again like this, you have 2. When you go like this again, you have what? 3 oscillations. So that would be 3. So if you know the time that this one is, let's say it is 6 seconds, that would be 3/6. And period is the inverse of frequency. Take note of that. Period is the inverse of frequency. Now this point, we have what we call the crest. So in a transverse wave like this, we have the highest point, which is known as what? The crest. And we have the lowest point, which is known as the what? Trough. So this is your crest, and this is also a trough. A crest and a trough. So distance between 2 successive crests or 2 successive troughs can also be used to define wavelength. That is, if you take the distance from here to this place, it's also going to be a wavelength as well, because there are 2 points that are also in phase. But this is for transverse wave. If you have a longitudinal wave can look something like this. So we have what we call compression. So we have a place where we call compression, and we have a place where we call rarefaction. So rarefaction. You see, compression and rarefaction, they are like crest and trough. So in a longitudinal wave, when you have a region where particles are pushed close together, then you have compression, just like you can see it here. But when you have a region where they are spread apart, we call it what? A rarefaction. And that is that about that. Now, let's talk about wave speed. So, the speed of wave is given as V equals F lambda. So, F is the frequency and lambda is the wavelength. So, which can also be written as, because you know that frequency is the inverse of period. So, it can also be written as lambda over period. Take note of that. So, the speed of a wave is calculated using this. That is the linear speed anyways. And we have some properties that every wave usually have. We have some properties that every wave usually have. And then these properties are, so I'm going to talk about them one after the other. We have reflection. So all waves can be reflected. And what does this mean? Reflection is simply means when you send out a wave and it hits a barrier, it bounces back. So the bouncing back of wave, whenever they hit a barrier, is called reflection. So the incident on that surface and they are bounced back is called reflection. The next one is refraction. So this one happens such that you send out a wave, it is traveling through a medium before, then it now goes ahead and enters another medium. So what happens there is that it changes its speed. It can either increase its speed or decrease its speed. Whatever the case is, I'm not talking about refraction today, so I will not be going into too much details. But all waves can be what? Refracted. It's simply changing speed when waves travel from one medium to another. So they change their speed and they change direction as well. We also have diffraction. So what is diffraction? Diffraction is simply when a wave spread out as it passes through a narrow opening or around an obstacle. So sound wave, they are actually very, very good with this. So when a wave is traveling like this, it passes through this narrow opening. So it spreads out around this opening such that even though it seems like it's traveling in this direction, other agents around this place can also experience the disturbance as well. That is what is called diffraction. So for light actually to experience diffraction, you need very, very, very narrow opening for them to experience a very obvious diffraction. But sound wave, they are very, very good. They are easily diffracted over what? Over sound wave. And there is also interference as well. Interference is simply superimposition of waves. So interference is simply superimposition of waves. So when you have more than one wave, like two waves now, acting, they are following the same path and they are in phase, then these two waves can actually combine together and form a single wave. Now, if they are out of phase, we call it destructive interference. We have the constructive one. Destructive, when they are out of phase, they cancel out and then you have no wave. But when they are constructive, you have the two of them, they are in phase and they come together to build a single wave of higher amplitude. And so we call them constructive. And the destructive one, they are out of phase and they cancel out. Then lastly, we have polarization. This polarization, not all waves undergo polarization. Polarization is actually the restriction of vibration of a transverse wave to a single plane. So you are trying to restrict them such that if they are traveling through a plane like this, then they cannot travel through a plane like this. So I'm not going into too more details about them. So let's say this is a vertical plane and this is horizontal plane. So if you restrict them through this, that means that they cannot make it through this. If you restrict them through this, they cannot make it through this. So that's basically what plane polarization is. And this is only a property of transverse wave. The rest I've talked about, all waves can undergo them, but for polarization, only transverse waves undergo such property. And that's basically the introduction to wave motion. In subsequent class in the future, we'll talk more about all of these waves and equations of waves and some other calculation that involve wave. So that's it for today. Don't forget to like and subscribe to the channel. I'll see you in the next one.